Idaho has lots and lots and lots of museums.
Hey,
There
yeah.
are 44 counties, and I would hazard a guess that just about every county has its own historical society, and most of them have some sort of museum.
Through the halls of memories, the strokes of history, capturing humanity. Stories left untold, whispers of the past, secrets they withhold. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, 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 oh. The condition reward. I think we should probably start by saying you obviously don't work at all of these places. So I might ask you a question you have no idea. That's understandable, right? Not a big deal. I did my best. Now, you sent me a list of these websites. I did my best to not look at them. So I'll be excited and interested as we go along, right?
Yeah.
All right. So let's start with the first one here. Let's switch to
Okay.
screen sharing. The old Idaho Penitentiary. Now, is there a new Idaho Penitentiary?
So there's the current Idaho Department of Corrections.
Okay.
Uh, so this is the old site that was in use into the 1970s, and then they built a new facility. So this is the old prison facility.
That was the old one. And it says only four. What does four territorial prisons mean? I'm not familiar with what that means in regards to prison terms.
So, so out here in the West, before states became states, there were territories.
Oh,
Um, and so, Idaho, before it became Idaho, it was part of the Oregon Territory, it was part of the Washington Territory. And then as those state lines got more established, Idaho was a territory in 1863, 64, and then it gained statehood in 1890. So this territorial prison was opened in 1872, and it says one of four. The other ones are in Arizona, Montana, Wyoming. And so basically it just means that these were the territorial prisons in use before these places gained statehood.
oh, that makes sense.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
I know it's kind of funky because a lot of the eastern where you are in Florida, like you
Yeah.
guys were so ahead of the game in terms of statehood and things, but out west, we had to go through the territorial process. So
Yeah.
they're a little
Understand.
different.
Yeah. So it says during its 100 years of operation, the site saw escapes, scandals, and effects
Mhm.
of the Boise's transition from Wild West. Any notable escapes that you might have heard of? Anything crazy
Um,
happened?
I don't know about escape, but you may have heard. So this place is kind of near and dear to my heart. This was where I worked before I got my current position.
Okay.
And so it's kind of fun because really you look at a prison, an old prison, and you think, huh, that's kind of dark. I don't know. But like you can tell a lot about like a society by what they punish for crime. And so you see, in the early years, there were a lot of things like giving liquor to an Indian. That was a crime. There were prohibition crimes. And so I don't know. I just think corrections is a very interesting lens to look at history through.
Yeah.
Probably one of the biggest things you may have heard of in the early 1900s, there were these mining wars up near Coeur d'Alene. And one of Idaho's former governors was assassinated, Frank Schoenberg.
Oh,
This guy, Harry Orchard, he was imprisoned for life at the penitentiary. He was the one who basically bombed this guy's mailbox and killed him. Um, he
wow.
was he was hired for this job because there was a lot of labor strife happening at the time, and so that was a huge trial. It was called like the trial of the century, and so Harry Orchard is one of the more famous people that was incarcerated there.
Wow. How much does
Um,
it cost? How much does it cost to bomb a government official?
who knows?
We don't know. Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much they paid him.
Yeah.
I don't have that information. Another famous one, her name was Lida Southard. She killed like four husbands uh, by poisoning them, and she eventually was caught. And then she was paroled and spent the rest of her life as a regular person.
Wow. Four of them. Jeez.
But yes, the penitentiary is a very interesting place.
I guess, yeah. So when you worked there, was there any like ghost stories that you heard?
Um, I mean, there were certainly lots of ghost stories, and as
Yeah.
a place of dark tourism, that was one of the draws. A lot of people wanted to see the hanging room because
There was a hanging room?
there were 10 executions that happened at the prison, and
Wow.
so there were lots of people, those morbid curiosities.
Yeah.
And so there is one building that has a hanging room, and one execution was carried out there.
Wow.
I myself haven't really experienced much. I'm not really a believer, but there are paranormal investigations that are offered where you can go and like be at the site after hours and try to see if anything paranormal happens.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. It'd be cool, like an Airbnb it, like sleep in a cell.
While I worked there, they did have a
Really?
experience you could pay, and yeah, you spent the night in a cell. You bring a
That is
sleeping bag.
awesome. Did that promotion do well?
Yeah,
I'd
and
imagine.
I think we got pizza, and we had different activities planned, and we talked about things. We talked a lot about squawky, which is the prison wine that they brewed, and so like just different activities
Yeah,
that went into the overnight experience. It was a big hit.
I guess. So tell me about this wine. Is it one of those things where they like do it in the toilet? Because I've seen
Yeah,
that. Okay.
yeah. So it's basically you take a lot of like fruit and you put it in a bag and you put pieces of bread in there to ferment it to
Okay.
use the yeast to
Okay.
really make it alcoholic. Um, a coworker of mine, he's now the director there. He used to like taste it. I refused
Wait,
because like
so you actually
lots
made it?
yeah, we've made it
Wow.
for
Okay.
like experiences, and if people want to taste it, they can. But I mean, there's always the threat of botulism.
Oh, nah, it's fine.
um, I don't know. I it grossed me out, so I always passed on it. But my coworker, he always tasted some of it. He was the one first, so
Well,
that was
I think this episode's already 8 minutes in. We've talked about hanging and how to make toilet
good.
wine. This is
There you
fantastic.
go.
This is great.
This is
Yeah.
it.
So I see we have guided tours from.
Yeah, so there are tour guides that offer guided tours, and you can go around. They have lots of different cell houses, um, different exploration. There's a separate women's ward that's open to tour. So it's a pretty interesting site, and it's really got that neo-Gothic style. So just like architecturally, it's really interesting as well.
Actually trying to see if I can open an image here. Let me screen share with you. I think I did it right. Can't really click on it though. What is this? It looks like some sort of, is it a cannon or something?
So in the 90s, this guy called J. Curtis Earl, he was a big weapons collector,
Yeah.
and before he passed, he really wanted to make sure that his collection went somewhere that they could be displayed. And so the old Idaho Penitentiary is part of the Idaho State Historical Society, which is a state agency. And basically, the prison had the space for it. And so in the bid for this weapons collection, they decided, okay, we're going to donate this to the Idaho State Historical Society. It'll be displayed at the prison. So it really doesn't have ties to the penitentiary itself, but it's just basically this guy's collection. And when I worked there, I did a lot of work out there because I studied military history, and so that was kind of my big interest was the collection. It was all kinds of stuff from arrowheads and spears from the Bronze Age up to the 90s, and so it's just kind of all this stuff. And so
Yeah.
I was really fortunate to be able to add a few, try to tie some of things to Idaho and the military aspect of it. And, there weren't a lot of women represented. So just working on getting more representation within the collection. So it's really neat and it's quite a sizable collection. It's just kind of out of place out there. And really the penitentiary was the place that had space. So
Okay.
it's just kind of a random bonus when you go out
Yeah.
there. If you're into weapons and military history and things like that, it's just an added bonus for you.
Yeah. That makes sense. So this is obviously where the cells were.
Yes. Yeah, that's in Cell House 2.
Did you ever watch The Walking Dead?
I did.
That looks just like the prison where they were.
Yes, indeed. That cell house was really interesting because we used it to talk about like in the beginning when there was no plumbing and there was no air conditioning, and really that was a good place when I gave tours. I really liked to talk about like prisoner rights, where that really isn't a thing until you get into like the 60s and 70s, and so uh you see that those problematic areas. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's got those kind of old style flat bars instead of round bars. And so throughout the site, you can kind of see the evolution of how different practices happened, as technology improves, as you get indoor plumbing, as you get all these different things.
Yeah.
You kind of see that evolution in the way the cells are.
Take a look. So I guess this is a courtyard of some sort.
Yeah, so that is on the far left, that was the dining hall, and then kind of in the center, that was the chapel. And those are left over. There was a riot that essentially ended the use of the prison in 1973, and their fires were set to both those buildings. So that's why there are no roofs, there's no stuff inside. It's because there was a prisoner riot.
Okay. Yeah, it looks really nice now. Looks like a nice
Yeah,
prison. As far
yeah,
as
no, it's
prisons go.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. They've got all these roses because there was you know one of the jobs when you were incarcerated is that you could take care of the roses, and so like the landscaping and the roses and stuff, like it's beautiful.
Yeah,
Uh, it's just it's got a lot of complicated history.
I guess. So here we have the Historical Museum at St. Gertrude.
Yes. So this is part of, there's an active monastery. And so this is near Cottonwood. And there's this monastery that was established in 1907. And there's a museum attached to it where you still have active sisters that work and,
Wow.
whatever. I don't know monasteries, what some of their jobs are, but
Yeah.
for one of them, or not one, for a lot of them, education was a big thing. And so they established a school. And part of the school was to collect taxidermy, collect minerals, to collect, basically different artifacts. And over the years, really, the monastery had quite a collection. And so they made that into a museum, and now it's a lot more about the local history in the area and
Yeah.
that relationship. But it's kind of just an interesting thing that's not really seen a lot, especially in Idaho. You don't have a lot of monasteries in Idaho. I think it's the only active one.
Wow.
And it's kind of off the beaten path, but it's the current structure, I believe, was built in the 1920s, and so like just architecturally, it's really really striking. And then you go there, and there's a museum as well.
That's cool. Who is Polly Bemis? Because she has some fancy dresses.
Yeah, she is one of the most well-known Asian immigrant that came to Idaho, and she really lived off the beaten path and was one of the very first women to come and homestead there. And so they've got a lot of information on her in the exhibit. And
Yeah.
I believe in the picture, like there's a cardboard cutout of her.
Yeah, hold
Um,
on. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, right here.
yeah, that's Polyphemus right there.
Okay. That's cool.
She's early. I believe she was Chinese.
Oh,
Um, and so she's one of the very first Chinese people in the area.
oh. And you have a book and gift shop.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, are a lot of the museums in Idaho have a lot of gift shops?
Some. I think it depends on the size.
Yeah.
I will say, just at the very top, Idaho has lots and lots and lots of museums.
Yeah.
There are 44 counties, and I would hazard a guess that just about every county has its own historical society, and most of them have some sort of museum. Not all of those have gift shops, but I think a lot of them do just because they recognize that, cultural heritage tourism is such a big thing.
Yeah.
And even just, Idaho, it's a big state. And so there's a lot of ground to cover, and the landscape is so varied that even across history museums, for example, there's so much variation because up north you have like logging and mining, and down south it's much more deserty and there's more agriculture. And so just within the landscape itself, there's so much variation, and that's the same with museums where the majority are history museums, but there are also arts and children's museums and science centers. So there's a lot of ground to cover, and some are only seasonal, some are all volunteer run, some are much larger, have paid staff. So there's lots of variety. And so I would say probably a lot of them do have gift shops, but I couldn't say how many.
Yeah, I'm just wondering like the profitability of having a gift shop. I'm just wondering if that's a valid revenue source for a lot of museums.
Yeah, I think so. And, especially for tourists, if
Yeah.
people come and, I don't know how it used to be, but I know several people that used to, collect magnets or shot glasses or whatever, where it's, every time you visit a place, you pick something up. And so for some gift shops, they're like teeny tiny and maybe they only offer a few things, and others are much larger. So it's, who knows? I don't have any data on that,
Yeah.
but I definitely think people are realizing the profitability.
And this museum, I think, has the most important thing, a dog,
Of course.
Jasper. And is that a real horse or is that like a statue horse? I can't tell.
No, that's a real horse. That looks real to me. Certainly from the photo, it looks real.
It does.
Otherwise, that's a very good quality plastic horse.
Yeah, I guess. Now you said it was architecturally interesting. Where can I see some pictures of the outside? Let me go to about, let's see. Oh,
So that's Sister Alfreda, and she was one of the instrumental people in like getting the collection started. I'm wondering if you just like Google St. Gertrude's Monastery, Idaho, because the
let me do
outside,
that because I like nice buildings. Hold on.
yeah, as do I. I think it really helps an experience.
Honest. Look at this. So this is it?
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. That is very
Um,
cool. I wouldn't expect something like that to be in the United States or Idaho.
yeah.
It looks
I'm
like
not
very
sure.
European.
Yes, it does. I'm
Wow.
not sure exactly where on the grounds the museum is.
Yeah.
That's at the very top of my list to visit. So I believe this is, like their main worship center, and
Yeah.
I think that they have a separate building that's for the museum. So
But
yeah, it seems very out of place.
yeah, it's impressive though.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Well,
That's cool.
especially because it's off the beaten path a little bit, so it's just kind of there at the base of some mountains, and it's really, you have to know it's there. You don't really just stumble upon it. There we
So
go.
I'm assuming this is the person who's giving the lecture. Is it
hmm
a lecture? What's it a lecture of?
I'm not sure. I would
Okay.
assume a lot of the local history. We are fortunate that in this part of Idaho, there are a lot of people interested in history. And so whether it's a hobbyist or a professional, there are a lot of resources within our area.
Yeah.
Um, and so lots of expertise to draw on. And so I'm not sure who that person was,
Okay.
but at least, it's, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half from where I am. And since we are located where the University of Idaho is, which then just over the state line, about 8 miles, we have Washington State University. And then about 45 minutes south of us is Lewis and Clark State College. So there are a lot of institutions of higher learning, and so there's lots of expertise within our area.
Yeah.
And so I know lots of people and lots of retirees. So even people who are out of the working world retire in this area. And so there's lots of people to draw from that have lots of interesting knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like a really beautiful place. Looks great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the next one. I just saw the opening screen here. Let's take a look at this. The Idaho
Yeah.
Potato Museum. That's
uh,
that's of
but
course that's the first thing I think of when I think of Idaho, right?
exactly,
That's good
exactly,
branding.
exactly. And so I felt like it was only natural we had to include
Yes.
them because, you know, lots of people they think Idaho, they think potatoes. So
Yeah.
for this museum, it's all about potatoes. It's all about the economy of potatoes, the history of them, how they came to be such an economic entity within our state. And one of the other things is they have a cafe. So you can go and you can also eat potatoes.
I'm glad you can. Wow. Yeah,
uh,
they actually have a cinema too. They have Potato Cinema.
I mean, I know that they're building, you'll notice a lot of museums in the state are in old railroad depots. And so that's the case for these guys as well, that railroad depots were a big deal. And so that's their building.
That's
Um,
cool.
yeah, I think they opened in the 80s and they've been around ever since. They're in a place called Blackfoot, which is kind of in the southeastern part of the state. So it's a lot of desert, a lot of agriculture down there, which makes sense. So, I guess when you're associated with a place, you gotta have a museum for it.
I guess. So as a Idahoan, how many potatoes do you eat a day? Is that a thing?
I mean, maybe once a week.
Okay.
Um, I
Okay.
mean, I do love potatoes. They're very delicious.
You have to, really, I think.
Well, and they're so versatile.
I know. Let's take a look at this. So this is, of course, farming potatoes,
Yep.
right? What is this thing on the left, on the right? I'm sorry. What is this contraption over here? Do you
Well,
know?
so that's called a pivot, and you can see the things kind of dangling down. That's
Yeah, yeah,
those are sprinklers, so that's for water and irrigating.
yeah. Okay, so that moves and it waters the potatoes.
Yeah, it waters the plants in the field.
Huh. We should probably talk about some potato facts because I
Okay.
don't know many potato facts. Let's see. The sweet potato belongs in the same family as morning glories. I don't know what a morning glory is. What's a morning
uh,
glory?
I mean, they're flowers.
Okay. Well, the
Is
white
that
potato belongs to the same group as tomatoes, tobaccos, chili peppers, eggplants, and petunias. Okay.
okay? All
The
right.
potato is 80% water, 20% solid. Okay.
All
The
right.
uh, the the average American eats about 124 pounds of potatoes a year, while Germans eat about twice as much.
Oh, that's a lot.
We have no stats on the Idahoans. Is that right? Idahoan? Idahoan? Idahoan. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. Like, yes, Idaho's known for potatoes, but potatoes are grown in lots and lots of states. So it's hard to say. I don't know specifically how many potatoes Idaho produces or things like that. Oh, I will mention one fun fact. In our Idaho State Museum, there is a picture of Marilyn Monroe, where there was some critique of her about when she was wearing something. And, the thought was like, well, she can look good in just about anything. So she actually wore an Idaho potato like sack
Okay.
like a dress. Do you know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow.
Like she's in an Idaho potato like sack, as like making a point that she can be beautiful wearing Idaho potatoes.
Wow. Okay. I hope she pulled it off. And apparently, potato blossoms used to be a big hit in royal fashion.
Okay.
That's what it says. And then I guess the U.S. Department of Agriculture has stated that a diet of whole milk and potatoes would supply almost all of the food elements necessary for the maintenance of the human body. So we could live on potatoes, apparently, and milk.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's take a look at the gift shop here. Let's see what fun potato things. So we have books, hats, keychains. What is this? Looks like, is this some sort of syrup or something? Is it
I
potato syrup? Is that a thing?
have no idea. I mean, you can make potatoes into a lot of stuff, so it wouldn't surprise me. Um,
Yes.
Oh, I do have another fun Idaho fact. If you ever come to Boise, there's a restaurant called the West Side Drive-In. They have a pretty famous thing. It's ice cream, but it looks like a potato.
Wow. How
So,
do they do that?
there's like a brown, like cocoa powder that they put on the outside, and like I've eaten it, and it really does look like a potato, but you take a bite, and it's actually ice cream.
Wow.
So the potato within Idaho, it is a thing.
I guess. And there's also something, and maybe as a person that lives in Idaho, you can tell me what this is. What is spud lotion?
Uh, Sounds like lotion made of potatoes.
Oh, okay. Because apparently you can buy spud lotion.
Okay,
And then Idaho tic-tac-toe. All right.
okay,
Yeah, great example of a gift shop, right? We were just
there we
talking
go.
about that. Yeah,
This is something for everyone.
I guess. All right. Any other potato facts we should talk about? No
No.
potato facts. Okay. Let's close this. Let's do this. All right. When
Okay.
I saw this, this is going to be my wife's favorite museum in the world, the Museum of Clean.
Again, it's got a little something for everyone.
Okay.
Um, it's in Pocatello. This guy, he had this giant collection of vacuums and said, "All right, I want to make a museum." He built a building, and that's precisely what he did.
Wow.
Um,
And that guy's name is Don Aslett.
yeah, he's written all kinds of books. He's got all these different things just on the concept of clean. So
Wow.
it's very interesting because it does go through kind of the evolution of things like the vacuum cleaner and kind of clean as a concept in American homes.
Yeah.
Um, but there's also things like art installations
Yeah.
centered around the concept of clean. So it's a very interesting place because it's not just about like the history of cleaning products. It's
Yeah.
also about the concept of clean and what that means, how people implement that. Like it's hard to explain because it is so conceptual in a way, but there's all sorts of different stuff. Like I said, the art galleries, he's got this giant library, displays and collections of vacuums and toilets, and it's a strange place.
I
But
guess.
it's really interesting if that's what you're into.
It looks it like tell me this. I'm assuming this is the entrance. It looks really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. No, it's a very neat building. You go in and they've got like 3 floors of different things you can look at. Like I said, there's something for everybody. Hands-on interactive stuff for kids. So it really, if you're into like, how did the vacuum develop?
Yeah.
And I found one piece that I found particularly interesting is there's a lot of like advertising included, and so looking at how has our advertising evolved and what does our advertising tell us within the larger scope, particularly when you're looking at gender roles
Okay.
and where, cleaning in the home, that's a very female,
Yeah.
the idea that that's what women should do. And so it's very interesting just looking at how vacuums in particular were advertised to women as this, amazing thing that's going to save you time. And so that part was really interesting to
Yeah.
me. Just in terms of like, yeah, the advertising is giving you so many different messages.
I also see here, and I'm not sure if you saw this when you went there, but Orchestra of Clean.
Yeah, yeah,
What is it? These musical instruments? Is that what I'm looking at?
yeah. That's the idea. Um, that's the idea that these are all sculptures using, supplies. Like the
Yeah.
guy in front, I believe his keyboard is on like an ironing board,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and you've got like trash lids, and so it's using all of these tools to
Yeah,
create this visual splendor.
that's clever. And I guess there's also Big Don.
Yeah, I don't really know who Don is, but he's there.
I guess he's really big. Wow.
Well, and I wonder if he's like modeled after the Don Aslett, the founder or something, but
I,
it's,
how do they go about making something that large?
I have no idea. That's a
No.
great question.
Here he is with A toilet collection.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, this guy has so much stuff.
And so why is someone carrying around a toilet? Like, was this before there was plumbing indoors?
Again, I have no idea.
Okay. All right, let's see what else we can find. Apparently, oh, actually, here's something. This is pretty cool. I don't know what this is, but it's an art gallery. It's very cool looking. I'm assuming it's cleaning related somehow.
I would assume so.
Yeah. Huh.
But
And
yeah, like there's just all kinds of stuff. It's very impressive.
yeah, I would say so. Let's go back one more. You were talking about the library, and there's the vacuum collection.
Yeah, this is what I remember most vividly is just
Yeah.
so many vacuums.
They're really interesting looking. And they look nothing like vacuums of today.
Oh, yeah, no, I think it's in terms of like history of technology, like it's very impressive to look at, how the tech evolved, how the usability, and like they're all pretty much the same shape, but how those things have transformed as, we try to perfect these tools.
Right. Yeah. And I like this. Here we have the world's first vacuum. You needed a horse
Yes,
to pull it around.
yes.
Wow. That seems very inconvenient.
Yes, it does. Um, I mean, I guess it's one of those things you get on a waiting list and they'll get to you when they get to you.
And then you got to get someone to pick up the things that the horse leaves behind.
Well, yes, there's
Yeah.
that.
Oh, it's rather unique.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
it
And,
is.
and I remember you saying that, very unique museums in the area, and I would agree.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. Let's see. What is this next one here?
If something bad happens to one of your Premium 42 Kites devices, we'll send you a new one at no cost. Even if it gets eaten by a kangaroo. They can be mean. Only at 42kites.com.
So that
The
is the Basque Museum and Cultural
Basque
Center.
Museum. What is Basque?
So the Basque people, they came from the region between France and Spain in the Pyrenees Mountains,
Okay.
and they're an ethnic language group. And one of the key things about them is they have a very unique language. And during the big immigration waves, lots of these people came to the United States, and they settled in Idaho, Nevada, California, a lot of these Western states. And like any other immigrant group, men came first. And, they would establish, get settled, and then send for their families. And uh, Boise, that's where this museum is in Boise. It has the largest population of Basque people outside of the Basque country.
Huh.
So
I see what you're saying about language. Let me sure. I was looking at this and I was like, why can't I read these words?
because it's in their own language, which is Euskara.
Oh,
Um, so yes, and that is a big part of keeping their culture alive is still speaking the language. In Boise, they have a couple different like preschools that speak the language, and
oh
so
wow.
it's keeping getting kids to learn it. And
Yeah.
so the museum, it talks about the history of the Basque people, and then right next to their museum, they have a boarding house, and that's the Cyrus Jacobs Uberaga boarding house. And basically, what would happen is the Basque immigrants that would come, the men particularly, they did a lot of sheep herding, which is you do that in the summertime when the weather's good. It's very solitary, and then when it gets cold, you come in to town. And so there were a lot of these boarding houses that that's where the men would stay, and it was very much like this communal living space.
Okay.
And so they have that right next door. They have the museum, and it just kind of looks at Basque culture, the history of the people in the area. And the only reason I know so much is I grew up in northern Nevada, which also has a very large Basque population. And
Okay.
so like I knew people who they would go to their Basque dancing classes because it's a very particular style. And so they do a lot of these festivals once a year where they do the dancing, they do the language, there's, lots of food and so all of that different stuff. So that's the only reason I know so much about it is because I am familiar. If you don't know, you're like, what is that word?
Yeah.
I don't know what it means.
Yeah. Can you demonstrate the dance?
No.
Do
My
you even
favorite,
want to try? Okay.
my favorite thing, they have these hoops that like you hold one end in each hand and you're dancing around like this and
Yeah.
you hit the hoop with your neighbor. And so it's really interesting. I'm sure there's pictures if you want to find more, but it's really interesting. And there's a whole costume and associated and like it's a very unique thing to like Idaho, Nevada, where
Yeah.
you don't find that outside of those places very much.
No. And there's something here called Art Zenak, and it says a life of solitude and hard work. And then there's this picture. Is this like a Basque house?
So that was the wagon that the men would go out in when they go sheep herding. So they
Okay.
would live in that, and that's what they lived in when they were out in the hills in the countryside watching over these sheep herds. And so that's kind of one of the iconic images associated with them is because a lot of them were these sheep herders, and so that's what they would live in
So
while they
it's a
were
Basque RV.
basically, yeah.
Right. Cool.
And then they would come into town, like I said, and stay in these boarding houses.
Yeah. And I see, let's open this up here. Oh, actually, the pictures went away. Apparently, there's a connection to Hemingway.
Mm.
Yeah.
Uh, so it looks like there's a museum in Guernica.
Guernica Berzcay. Is that in Spain?
So Guernica, that is really famous for the bombing during the Spanish Civil War during Franco's rule.
Hmm.
And so, the big image that people know about is Pablo Picasso's piece called Guernica. It's very big, it's very abstract, but it illustrates some of the horrors of that bombing. And so Guernica is a Basque place, and that was one of the places that was bombed. And so I'm not sure what the Hemingway connection is, but
Sure.
that's one of the places that is
Yeah,
often brought up.
that's
And
cool.
so, like in Boise, there's a place called the Bar Guernica. It's very delicious if you go there.
What do you eat when you go to Bar Guernica?
Croquetas. And
Okay.
it's basically this fried dough, and it's very good.
Yeah, fried dough's
And
great.
then you drink calimochos, which are red wine and Coke.
Wow, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Okay. Let's take a look at this. Cyrus Jacob Uber. I'm gonna
Uberaga.
say that again.
Uberaga?
Uberaga House.
So that's the boarding house that's right next to their museum that you can walk through.
Right. And I guess in 1928 they bought it for $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
What a
Wouldn't that be nice?
that would be great. Let's bring that back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
it's in Boise, there's a whole street that's called the Basque Block, and that's where a lot of the Basque restaurants are. That's where the museum is, where that's kind of like the Basque Cultural Center in Boise. They've got several restaurants. Several of the buildings used to be those boarding houses. So it's a big draw if you ever go there.
it looks like they have oral histories on their
Yeah,
website. That seems like a pretty cool feature. Let me just pick one and just see what happens.
Sure.
I don't know anybody's name. Let me just click on D. I'm just want to just wondering how this works. Okay. So this Luella May, her page,
Hmm.
oral history. Okay. So then, yeah, I just want to hear someone talk.
Yeah.
Let me click on this. Audio recordings, I guess.
Yeah.
Here we go. How
Oh,
parents.
it's
Let's hit play. Let's see how this works.
Did both your parents
Can you
spoke
hear that?
Basque? Yes. Obviously. And did they speak Basque with each other at home while you were growing up?
Only when they didn't want me to know something.
Okay. So
By the time I came along, they were speaking English. My dad spoke very broken English. My mother spoke very good English.
I don't hear an accent or anything. They're like, is
no,
that
so it sounds like maybe she's the next generation.
okay?
Um, that maybe she was born in the US.
Yeah, that seems like a great feature to have. Oral histories. That's great. I don't think I've seen that before.
Yeah, no, I oral histories are so valuable, and I love when you see places that are able to make that available to the public.
Yeah, and they all
Right.
this website's kind of impressive. They also have live Basque radio.
Oh, that's
So
really cool.
let's listen. I'm gonna click on Radio Donosti. Let's see what happens.
Okay.
It says loading.
I hear a little bit of music,
You hear a little
maybe.
bit?
Kind of hard, but
Stop it. How do I stop it? I don't know how to stop it. Okay, wait. It seems happy. They seem happy and fun music, but yeah, that's cool. I didn't know all these things existed. I'm learning so much. And they
good.
also, you were talking about the language, and they have language classes.
Hmm.
And
That's really a big part of preserving the history and the culture.
yeah, yeah, language classes. 12-week course, $175. Seems like a good deal.
I was just going to say their language, it's very unique in terms of like language groups and things. I can't remember the specific term, but it's really not related to any other language around it. It evolved independently.
Okay.
So in terms of like language studies, it's very interesting because it doesn't borrow from Latin or any of that other stuff. Like it evolved independently of everything else. So
Oh,
the language, it's a big, like, you know, stamp of pride
sure.
that they're able to keep it alive. They have these classes. I know the museum, they take trips to the Basque country. You
Oh,
know, you can go with people from the museum to Europe to go back to the Basque country. And so they're a very active museum.
yeah, that's great. And you're also saying, and I see it here, there's a preschool.
Mm-hmm.
And let me share my screen with you. Here we go. So, just talking about language, can you say any of these words? No.
Nope.
Do you want to try?
No.
Okay.
I've noticed like just even looking at some of the last names of people I know, like there are so many consonants back to back, it just doesn't make sense to my brain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, congratulations on them being able to speak that language. That's impressive.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah. And they also have a gift shop. Look at that. Very cool. All right. Any other interesting Basque facts we should know? No?
No.
Covered it all? Okay. Let's see what is next on the list here. Here we go. The National Historical Park.
Yeah, so this is the Nez Perce National Historical Park. So within the national park system, I believe they have something like 38 different sites that the park encompasses.
Oh, nice.
Uh, but south of me in Lapway, they have a visitor center. And so that is really like their main museum space where they have exhibits and different things like that. And so, really, that centers the Nimipu people, which is also known as the Nez Perce tribe.
Okay.
Idaho has several tribes, I think 5 federally recognized, many more others that are not federally recognized. And so lots of indigenous history. And so they recently, actually just last week, in May, they had a big reopening of their visitor center because they just installed a brand new exhibit
Nice.
that looks at the relationship between the tribe, the history of the tribe, their relationship with the landscape. Me and my staff, we were able to go down, and it's very impressive and it's very well done. And I think it speaks to the fact that there's this idea that the indigenous people really they're just not around anymore, and that this really pushes against that. It says no, still here, still doing our traditions, still doing all of these different things. Even if they look a little different, we're still part of the landscape. So it's really impressive.
Here is a virtual museum, which seems like a great idea. So let's click this and let's see what happens. Okay. Say the name. Nez Perce, was that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is their virtual museum. I wonder what we can click on here.
Yeah.
Legend Times.
They have a lot of artifacts that are in storage at this facility, and so I'm assuming some of these are just some of the stuff that's in storage that may not be on display.
Yeah.
Lots of really impressive bead work.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, it's very impressive.
Yeah, a friend of mine, actually somebody else on the Idaho Association of Museums board, she works in the collections at this place.
Okay.
Christine, she was able to give us kind of a behind the scenes look, and they have a lot of material that is not on display, but things like the dresses with the really impressive beadwork, lots of baskets, shoes, all kinds of stuff that's related to the tribe.
Right. Let me just take a look at this. I found the image gallery. So we have a lot of stuff here.
Yeah.
Legend Times, foodways, gender roles, spirituality, transport and trade, missionary period, the struggle of 1877. What happened in 1877?
That is when you had the feds and the army coming through and really working to remove indigenous people from some of their land. And that's when you get these treaties and the reservation system, and people like Chief Joseph that fled up to Canada. So that was really the big period of strife, where you have basically the army coming through and inflicting violence on the tribe.
That sounds terrible. And here's this is one of Chief Justice's hunting rifles.
Mm-hmm.
Impressive.
Yeah.
1870, 1860. Wow. And you're saying beadwork. There's a whole bunch of beadwork here.
Lots of beadwork, lots of baskets. There are a lot of fields nearby of camas, which is a plant, and the tribes, a lot of their food sources, they would dig up these camas fruits, and that was a big part of their food. So you've got a lot of baskets to carry all of the camas bolts in. And then you've just really impressive beadwork for sure.
Yeah. And then I've always wondered this. Here is the raising of the teepee. So I guess we can learn how this works.
Yeah.
Do you know how this works?
I don't.
You don't know? Okay. Well, we'll just guess. Looks like we put the sticks up as support structures, and then looks like that. I'm already impressed. I can't do that. And then looks like we get a bunch of guys together for the tarp on the outside. I'm assuming this is in order.
Looks like it.
Yeah, looks like they're sort of threading the tarp onto that structure. Mm-hmm. And then I think it's over here. All right, we got one side on.
And I'm not sure if this is so they would use animal hide, and I don't know if that's what they're using or if it's like replica. I'm not sure.
Right, yeah. And then Okay. Now I'm starting to see it. Here we go.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then almost done. And then I think the
there
finished
it is.
product. Look at that. So you said this is and I closed it when I clicked away. This is a national park.
Yeah, so it's part of
Okay.
the National Park Service.
So can
Well, so
anyone go there and like walk around and look at things? Okay, cool.
yeah, so it's a what is it? A National Historical Park. So it's they have different designations, so it's not quite like a Yellowstone or a
Yeah, yeah.
Yosemite. But yeah, it's free. You can go. It's right off the highway. So it's part of that federal system.
Okay. And then you were saying that they have a lot of different sites, and I found a map.
Yeah, so you can see they've
Yeah.
got all kinds of their different
Wow. All the way
historical.
up into Montana and
Mhm.
Washington. But yeah, they seem to mostly be focused over here.
Yeah, so that was the tribal migration patterns throughout the year were mostly through these areas, but you had other sites and things, when the tribe was forced to move and forcibly, removed from their land and placed on the reservation. And so you have I believe some of these different sites are like battle sites and different things like that to recognize some of the different histories.
And also, I love the naming of this national battlefield, the Big Hole. What 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 happened at the Big Hole?
um, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm
Um,
Indigenous studies is not my area of expertise.
sure.
I'm not sure. I'm guessing that must be another one of the standoff battlegrounds.
Yeah. And a lot of this looked beautiful. I mean, these beautiful
Yeah.
sort of mountains and plains. Really nice.
Yeah, and you can really see like just how varied the landscape is, and it's beautiful. Like
Yeah.
even right where their visitor center is, it's right next to the river. So you've got kind of a little bit of a river canyon, and it's just gorgeous.
Yeah. Do you think we should click on Visit Buffalo Eddie or Visit Heart of the Monster? Which one do you think sounds better?
Let's do Heart of the Monster.
Heart of the Monster. Good choice. Let me click on this. Heart of the Monster. So according to I'm not going to say the name because I'll mess it up. Coyote killed a large monster along the Clearwater River near present-day Kamai,
Canyon.
Idaho, thus creating different tribes in the region. Huh. A rock formation in the area is said to represent the heart of the monster described in the legend. Wow. So this is this something anybody can just walk up to? Because I see the latitude and longitude. Okay.
Yeah, so I think it just depends on if there are any gates on their parking structures. I think theoretically, places like this they close at dusk. Um, but I've not been to the Heart of the Monster, so I'm not sure. But yeah, any of these little sites people can go to, and
Yeah,
they're free to visit.
that's really cool. Apparently this is the heart of the monster, the mound.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, and it's a sacred place for the Nimiku. I
Okay.
mean, as you can see, as I mentioned before, there's many different tribes in the area, but we listed, the Basque people, we've got the indigenous people, like lots of folks here in different parts of the state. So lots of variation.
Yeah, I guess. And it looks like a beautiful landscape wise. Looks really beautiful out there.
It is. And I think Idaho is one of the top growing states in the nation in terms of like people moving here. And
Yeah.
a lot of it is because of some of these landscapes. It's great for outdoors things.
Yeah. This is a pretty cool feature. Let me share my screen. So as I scroll through this sort of iframe on the side here, it changes
Oh yeah.
well, it did it did a second ago. Yeah, it changes the map so you can kind of see where it is.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's fancy.
See, these are our federal dollars at work here.
Wow. Looks great. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Anything else we should learn about this?
No, I don't think so.
Think we got it? Okay. Let us move on. Let's see. Share. Here we have, I'm going to mess up this. Can you say that word so I don't sound
Yeah.
stupid?
So that's Coeur d'Alene.
Coeur d'Alene. Okay. Coeur d'Alene Old Mission State Park.
Yep.
So
So
what am I looking at here?
So within the state park, they have an old mission, and that's that church building that was kind of in the banner. And
Yeah.
that is believed to be the oldest building in Idaho.
Oh,
It was constructed in the 1850s by Catholic missionaries. And so that is I think the nearest place is Cataldo, which is near Coeur d'Alene. So it's a state park, and within that state park, they have that church. There's a cemetery, there's a parish house, and I believe they also have a visitor center.
oh,
Um, so that's believed to be the oldest building. Uh, Looks like the Coeur d'Alene tribe also had some involvement in the
yeah.
mission. As these missionaries were sent out to preach to the indigenous communities around. So that was kind of the beginning of that relationship with the Coeur d'Alene.
And also see we have a little video here. Let's sort of click through this. So this is that church?
Yeah, that's the church.
Okay, let me hit play. I'll mute it so we can keep talking here.
Okay.
Oh, so people can go inside of it.
Yeah, people can go inside of it, and I know several people that have been married in the church out there,
Okay.
so they do rent it out for weddings and things.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
looks really nice on the inside. Let's keep playing.
Yeah.
So they do tours. Kind of looks
Mm-hmm.
like. Yeah.
So it is a state park, so they do have like rangers and people there who are able to answer questions and do tours and things like that.
Right. He's carrying some sort of stick, I guess.
I'm not sure what he's carrying.
Yeah. And that's the end of the video. It looks like a nice place.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's another beautiful place. It's up Lake Coeur d'Alene is nearby, so you see there's a lot more trees, and you're getting into the more mountainous areas, and yeah, so that's another great place to visit.
Yeah, it
And
is.
it's just interesting to me because it is very much like stylistically of that mission style. So
Yeah.
you see in terms of the architecture, it doesn't necessarily fit with some of the other stuff we've seen, but that was the style of the time.
Sure. And it looks like we have something called the Sacred Encounters exhibit. Father D. Smet and the Indians of the Rocky Mountain West is now open. 5,000 square foot, $3.26 million exhibit includes artifacts from some of the most important museums in the world, including the Smithsonian and Museum of Natural History. Very cool. Oh, you're also saying that people get married there. Take a look at that. See if we have any pictures. So weddings here.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very nice. Looks like it'd be on a postcard.
Oh, exactly. No, it's beautiful.
One of the amenities is flush toilets. So, that's
I
good.
mean, if it's flush and pit toilets, like that's a upgrade.
Yeah, I guess. Bird watching, Idaho backpacks, fishing, hiking, history, junior ranger, learning, and volunteering. Let's move on to the next one. Let's see what we got. Okay, share screen. Here's the Museum of Idaho.
Yeah.
So it's all of Idaho in this one museum.
Apparently.
Wow.
This
Great.
is Falls, which is down in the southern part. I believe this museum does more, like, yes, they do history, but is a little more science and
Okay.
like more archaeological, like natural history. I think they have like fossils and paleontology and like stuff on the geology. Right, so looking more at the natural history.
Let's click around here. Let's see what we find. So we have exhibits. Way out west, Idaho takes flight. Is there a lot of aviation history in Idaho?
There is some, I mean, even within like our area, there's a lot just in terms of the agricultural part of it, where like a lot of people use it for crop dusting and things like that, as part of the agriculture industry. And then I know there are a lot of people that have like their own planes, private pilot's licenses, and there are lots of little teeny tiny airports. So Boise is the biggest one in the state, but then like even my town, Moscow, has a little airport with like one terminal.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of those little small airports.
Yeah. They have a video here. Let's take a look at it. This is way out west.
Okay.
Let me mute it and just hit play. Let's see what happens. Is that big elephant inside their museum?
I believe they have a big mammoth cast in the museum, I think.
Yeah.
Because there are pretty rich fossil beds in Idaho in terms of like the large, I don't want to say they're not dinosaurs, but you know, those large prehistoric animals like mammoths.
Yeah. And we got some old cars. Yeah, it looks like we have a big variety of things.
Yeah.
What was that? I saw a flag. Oh, in a second.
Oh, there.
There you go.
There we go.
What is that? Do we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13? Oh, it's like 13 original colonies, I'm assuming.
The few colony flags.
Yeah. Keep clicking around. Let's see. They have a cool, looks like a puma, bird.
Yeah. I think they have quite a few like taxidermy artifacts too. So lots of the natural history and environmental.
Let's see what else we can find here. Here we go. So under collections and research, this is what you were saying. A lot of old sort of animal. It's stretching over 13,000 years. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's Christina. She's on the board as well. She's one of the curators. And so I know that they do have quite a bit that's not on display. Like she's showing those just trays and trays of different specimens for research and all kinds of stuff.
All right. Well, hi, Christina.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got. The Gem State. Idaho's called the Gem State?
That's our motto, the Gem State.
Wow.
So we're famous for a lot of those minerals and things. The star garnet is a big deal here. Lots of garnet. You can go garnet hunting if you want. You go through and they have times you sign up for and you go pick through some excess dirt and things, and you can find little garnets and different stones. Idaho is very, very mineral rich, and that's why it's got such a long history of mining and different things like that. Yes.
Learning so much about Idaho today.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah, right. Gem State. So I'm just clicking through. Let's take a look at this.
And I believe they do like rotating exhibits as well. So
that's probably what the Titanic was.
You would assume that that's why the Titanic is involved.
Right. I don't think the Titanic ever went to Idaho.
No.
No.
Right. We're very landlocked.
Yeah. That would be very difficult. I'm just clicking around to see if I can find anything else exciting. So here you have the sky is never the limit. Good advice. Okay. Looks like we have some sort of flight simulator.
Yeah.
Looks fun. Yeah. I'm not sure what he's. It looks like a bullet.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
Maybe that's like the sound barrier or something. Who knows?
Yeah, right. Okay, anything else we should know about the Museum of Idaho?
No, I think
what's interesting? I don't think I saw one potato.
They let the people in Blackfoot have all the glory.
I guess. All right. Let's go to the next one here.
If Grandma is visiting your museum, why make her struggle to read the small print on the wall labels? With the 42 Kites premium devices, she can make the text as big as she wants. Get yours today, only at 42kites.com.
Here we have the Boise Art Museum.
Yeah, so there are several art museums throughout the state. This one There's in Boise, the capital. There's a really nice park that's right downtown that has the public library and the state museum and the zoo, and there's the Black History Museum, and then there's the art museum. So it's very nice. The art museum is right there with all these other history places, and it's in a pretty historic building in terms of Idaho. Are several different famous-ish artists that come from Idaho, so they've got a pretty large permanent collection, but then they also rotate different exhibits through. So it's a really neat place. They host also a big summer festival after Labor Day, Art in the Park. That's one of their biggest things that they do with vendors and kind of showcasing some different arts and crafts people around.
That's cool. I just clicked around and I saw this. Ryan Feddersen, Coyote Now. It looks like there's a wall that people can color.
Oh, very cool. They've got like a kind of interactive.
Yeah, coloring book wall. That's cool.
Yeah.
Leave your mark on the Boise Art Museum. Let's see what else we can find here. So visual language, the art of abstraction, silver linings, celebrating the Spellman art collection. There's the wall.
Okay.
Myths, fables, and fortunes are placed within the landscape. What do you think we should click on?
Let's do the myths within the landscape.
Myths within the landscape, cool. Myths, fables, and fortunes are placed in the landscape. I can't tell the size or really what I'm looking at here. Let me open it in a new tab.
It says it's 60 by 145.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a painting. Okay. Wow.
So
That's impressive. That's really big.
yeah.
Wow.
No, they're really good about rotating different exhibits through. When I lived in Boise, I used to go pretty regularly because they get a lot of different stuff.
Let's take a look at their classes, because I'd imagine there's probably a lot of fun art classes here.
Oh,
I'm guessing.
oh, lots of kids camp.
Yep. Classes are up for adults, seniors.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Actually, that's another sort of, I guess, general museum topic we could talk about. I've noticed from talking to a lot of museums that there's an untapped market of the younger generation for field trips and seniors that are in senior living facilities and maybe don't get out as much. Have you seen museums in your area reach out to those two groups?
I think kids for sure, just because you do have that field trip opportunity where you can get classes out of the classroom to come visit your museum.
Yeah.
And seniors, that's a more difficult one. I know at least in our museum we struggle because, our building that we'll talk about later coming up, it's a historic building that's not ADA accessible. So seniors, it's difficult if there are mobility issues. And I know, our curator, she's been really good about going to the senior center and giving presentations and things, but it is challenging to try to get folks that may be in senior living places to come to your museum. I will say the biggest audience in terms of our museum are older folks, retirees. That's who the biggest audience is for us.
Yeah.
But in terms of, as you were talking about, like senior living, that is a big challenge where we have stairs, we don't have an elevator. So it's one of those things that we struggle with, where we do have things like tablets where you can look and see, but that's not the same as being able to visit these spaces. And I mean, aside from field trips, I do think getting kids involved is a little more challenging just because as a house museum, it's not always great for some of those interactive things that kids really gravitate towards. And so I know we've really tried. We do annual programs, like we have an ice cream social, we have a Victorian Christmas. So we try to do family-friendly things, but in terms of just like regular visitors, it is harder because, we recognize like our museum is for a little bit of an older audience,
Yeah.
not necessarily kid friendly sometimes.
Yeah. Hmm.
So
All right.
I don't have an answer, but I know that
Sure.
that's something at least people in historic buildings can really understand is
Yeah.
that we have these really big barriers sometimes that there's no way around.
Yeah. Understandable. Let's take a look at this because this is rather interesting. So on their website under collections, looks like we have online collection database. Let's see what happens when we click this. Should we click on any of them?
Sure, pick one.
Artist unknown. Wow. View catalog record. I'm just wondering what some of this stuff does.
Yeah.
Some sort of mask and some sort of Japanese painting. Oh, we can just do that. Oh, look at this. We can just do this and keep looking.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. Yeah. Well, because I know that I'm sure places like the Boise Art Museum, they have so many pieces in their collection that it's not like you can reasonably display all of them at the same time. So that's really nice that they have that kind of online access
Yeah,
if you're curious.
right. That's very cool. What do you think? What do you think this is?
Huh. I mean, it looks like some sort of sculpture.
Yeah.
Well, so I guess I'm curious, is the image the art or is the subject the art? You know what I mean?
Let's click view catalog. Let's see what we find. Description, Wendy Marayama, paper,
Okay.
ink, string, and thread. So I'm wondering,
So
is it just a bunch of string, a bunch of paper on a string hanging from
yeah,
the...
so it looks like it creates almost like a sculpture in a way.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Very cool. All right, let's move on here to the next one. Here we have Minidoka National Historic Site. What is this?
So Minidoka is one of several places within the national park system where Japanese Americans were incarcerated during World War II.
Oh, that's not good.
So I don't know how much you guys know about this, like on the East Coast, but on the West Coast, President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, and that basically forcibly removed Japanese Americans during the war from their homes, mostly in Washington, Oregon, and California along the coast, basically rounded up these people and imprisoned them in these camps that were inland.
Oh.
And so Minidoka is one of those camps where people were incarcerated during the war. And
it held over 13,000 Japanese Americans in the Idaho desert.
They were rounded up. A lot of the people that were in Minidoka came from Washington, most notably around the Seattle area. And so what happened is they were rounded up. They could bring what few possessions they could carry, and they were taken to places like fairgrounds and whatnot, and placed on buses, placed on railroads, and taken inland to basically the middle of nowhere, the desert.
Yeah.
And these barracks were constructed that they were housed in. And then these camps became really sort of cities in a way where people had jobs that they did. They formed different communities. The Minidoka, it has a baseball field that they have reconstructed, passing the time. A lot of them were loaned out as farm labor and the agriculture surrounding the farm, so surrounding the camp. So it is one of several different sites in California and Washington that are part of the National Park Service. And so if you go out there now, there is a visitor center with a very good museum. There are exhibits. There's a film that talks about kind of this legacy of incarceration. And then there are, I want to say, just a few of the buildings that are still standing. A lot of them were demolished. There's a college like construction class basically made a replica guard tower because there were guard towers. They were imprisoned. They could not leave.
Wow.
And so this is one of those places. And so it's a very sobering experience to go out there and just kind of see what they saw in the middle of the desert, to be told you've abandoned your family business. You've had to uproot your entire life and come here, even though, their biggest argument was like, a lot of them were Japanese Americans. They were born in America.
Wow.
But there was this thought that, they're going to betray us. They're traitors. And so that complication, because there were lots and lots of Japanese Americans who went on to enlist and serve in the military as a way to prove their citizenship. And so there were lots of people that served from Minidoka. They basically said, oh yeah, I'll serve. I'm American. I will do this.
Yeah.
So it's an important place that I don't think a lot of people know about.
Yeah, no. Let's take a look at some of these pictures. Let's do
Sure.
this. So Block 22, I think that was what was on their homepage.
Mm-hmm.
And then let me go back. Let me go back. There we go. So this is the inside of it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd imagine there would be all kinds of beds over here.
Yeah, so there were beds lined up, and then from photos I've seen, you would put up basically like a sheet to give you some privacy where you're living on top of each other.
Yeah. And then this looks like a mess hall, so people would eat here.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Beautiful area, although you don't want to be there.
No,
terrible.
I don't want to be there in the summertime.
No. God.
Well,
I hope.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say this place has been on my mind lately just because the Bureau of Land Management, they're currently in the middle of negotiating a wind farm to be near this area. And so there's been lots of upheaval lately because you look out and you see, just as far as you can see, wind turbines. Like, that's going to really change the impact of this place. So it's been in the news recently just because there's been a lot of pushback.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. But I hope that doesn't go through, just because you go and really being able to look out at the landscape, to just really think about like what it means to abandon your life, have to bring your family here. It's really a special place. And the visitor center, they do a really good job with the interpretation that they've done. And they really have a good relationship with the ancestors, that they do a pilgrimage every year where people come back and really talk about the legacy and the generational trauma that happened from this incarceration. So it's definitely worth a visit.
Yeah.
Even though it's very heavy stuff.
Yeah, I'd imagine. And then, so I see what you're saying. There was a baseball field. I see the home plate over here. And then we have the honor roll. What is the honor roll?
So those were the people that served, the men and women who served as part of the military.
Okay.
So even though their government incarcerated them, they still volunteered for service.
Wow. All right. Should we move on?
Sure.
Is this something happier on the next one, I hope?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, let's see. Here we have the museum at the brig.
Yes. So, as I said, Idaho is a very landlocked place.
Yeah.
But the Navy established the second largest naval training station here along Lake Pend Oreille.
Okay.
So it's a very deep lake in northern Idaho. And the Navy established this big training facility. So lots and lots and lots of sailors to be came through here. They came through, did boot camp here. At the time, it was the biggest city in Idaho because it brought so many people. And so it was a big deal to have this. This was during World War II. So they established this big training station. And then in the years after the war, a lot of the buildings were taken down. The Navy still used it as for like radio training and things like that. But now one of the few buildings that still stands is the brig, which is basically the jail.
Is that the
And
square building?
yeah, and that's
Just take a look
what
at
the
it.
museum is.
So
Yeah,
that's
so
right here.
yep, that's the brig,
Okay.
and that's what the museum is in now. And it just talks about so it was called Farragut Naval Training Station, and right now their Farragut State Park operates there, so the museum kind of operates within the state park system. So like you can go camping and then go to the museum if you want. And yeah, it was a big deal as part of the war effort that a lot of people trained there.
Yeah, that's cool. And it looks like so this website is really just a PDF, so I can't click anywhere.
There's not a whole lot of information.
Yeah.
They
This is
don't have much of a web presence.
no, I guess not. But yeah,
Um,
prison, like you were just saying,
yeah.
German
And
POWs.
I believe this one is just seasonal. So it's only open like Memorial Day to Labor Day. So it's one of those, you have a limited window to visit.
I didn't know this. German POWs. It says beginning in 1945, FNTS also housed prisoners of war in nearby Camp Farragut. The POWs were German soldiers captured by U.S. troops in Europe and Africa. I didn't know that those people got back over here. Wow.
Yeah, and just like they used the Japanese American incarcerees to do farm labor, some POWs were also used for farm labor and things like that. Like, all the men are away fighting the war. Who's gonna do some of this hard labor intensive work? Oh, let's make the POWs do it. Let's make the Japanese Americans do it. There was also the Bracero program that brought people up from Mexico. Basically, you needed like bodies who could do some of this hard labor. The Navy has a big history in Idaho, even though we're a very landlocked place.
Yeah, I would have never guessed that.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
Yep.
Now, this seems like a bad idea. Experimental breeder reactor. What kind of like horror movie thing is this?
So there was a big lab, and still is, the Idaho National Laboratory there in southern Idaho. They were working on nuclear power very, very early. So Arco, Idaho, that this lab is near, was the very first town in the world to be powered with electricity that was generated through nuclear power.
Oh, that's cool.
So they have a museum talking about it, and visitors can come to the museum. I believe this is another seasonal museum, so only go during the summer.
Okay.
But I believe you can tour and see some of the nuclear reactors and different things like that. And it's still an active site. They're still doing lab stuff there. I don't know a whole lot about it. I've not been there, but it's, again, a very unique thing.
Yeah. What? So I guess you don't know why. I guess why the name breeder is in the title. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's screen share. Let's take a look. Let's click on nuclear energy facility. Let's see if we can see something.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Who knows? Because I'm sure, they can't show too much because our competitors might
Sure.
get too much information.
That's a human systems simulation laboratory. That's pretty fancy. Irradiated materials characterization lab, materials and fuels complex.
It's a very big, very impressive facility. I think in the area it's still one of the main employers. So it's, even starting in the 40s and 50s, it's still in operation and a big job maker for ARCO.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's click on what's this? Human systems simulation. That looks fun. Let's go here. Let's see what we can find. Looks like something out of a movie.
Yes,
At the
it does.
top. Over here. The Human System Simulation Laboratory, or HSSL, at Idaho National Laboratory is a virtual nuclear control room that safely tests new technologies before they're implemented at commercial reactors. Wow.
All right.
I guess that's good, right? Try it out virtually before you blow something up.
Yeah. And I mean, there was an accident in the 60s, I think. A couple people did die. Since then, I guess they've figured it out.
That's good. So here we have a map of all the
Yep.
different, I guess, buildings.
Yeah.
Like how big are we like how big is this of all these places?
Um, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm
Let's-
not sure.
Oh, we can zoom in.
I'm not sure of the scale here that they're talking.
Yeah. Naval Reactors Facility. Huh.
I mean, I know it's a pretty big complex and they've got lots of different buildings, so it
Yeah.
would make sense that it's a good size.
Yeah. Click on fact sheet. What can we learn? What are the facts we can learn here? Oh, not a whole lot of facts.
No.
Nuclear, kind of disappointed about that. Nuclear
Yeah.
energy. Let's click on that. Uh, nuclear fuel. Huh. I mean, it's very impressive that such a thing is in Idaho. I mean, anywhere really. I didn't know normal people could go to these places. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I believe that they have that their little museum talks about kind of the process that they went through to get, electricity to the town and, the history of the development and, after the Manhattan Project and all of that kind of stuff. So I've not been to this museum, so I don't know how big or what parts
Sure.
of the facility are open to the public. It's hard to say.
And let's go to here.
All right, this is us.
There you go. All right. First of all, Lata, am I saying that right?
Latah.
Say that again.
Latah?
Latah. Okay. Latah County Historical Society. And this is where you work.
Yep, I am the executive director of that organization. And
Okay.
so we have, as I said before, we've got kind of a research library, we've got an archive, and then we manage a historic house museum, which is the McConnell Mansion. That's our main display space, and that's our museum that is open for people.
Okay. So let me go here. So this, I clicked on visit
Yep,
mission. So is this the house you're talking about?
that's our museum. That's the McConnell Mansion. So if you go to rentals, that would probably be a good place. There's to view photos of the
View
space.
photos. Okay.
So it's a house that was built in 1886. So it's very Victorian. And then if you scroll down, there's some of
Family
these other rooms
farm,
here. Um,
dining room.
and yeah, so it's a house. We got an upstairs, downstairs bedroom. It's all kind of decorated in the Victorian style. Right now we're undergoing a window preservation project, working on rehabilitating the existing windows. When you've got wood from 1886, that needs to be updated sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's our current big project right now. And then we do temporary exhibits as well. So it's ongoing with the preservation work and the county repository side of things. And then we do different exhibits. I mentioned before we do things like an ice cream social in the summertime and different events and programming and all kinds of stuff.
What's the McConnell Mansion?
Mm-hmm.
How did the McConnell family make so much money to have a nice house like this?
So William McConnell, he's the one who built it. He owned a general store and then was also Idaho's third governor.
Oh,
So it's kind of notable because it's, got this family attached to it. He's the one who built it. And you say he had a lot of money. They only had the house for about 11 years until his business went bankrupt and the bank seized it.
uh-oh.
He owned a general store in town and there was a bad harvest and the farmers couldn't make the payments. He couldn't then make payments on the goods. So it was just that the economic depression of like 1893 to 1897 was not great for the economy here.
Yeah. Huh.
And then there were three other private owners. And in 1966, the last owner, he gifted the house to Latah County. And now we, in partnership with Latah County, manage it as a museum.
Okay. That's cool. And then over here on your events page, so we have those wacky Victorians, late 1800s hobbies, Lula's Library, Twice, and Ice Cream Social. What is those wacky Victorians about?
That's our current exhibit up right now. It's basically talking about some of the stranger hobbies that we think of now when we think of the Victorians, where things like, have you seen anything related to like hair art from human hair?
No.
So
No.
it's these really cool things.
Is there pictures of it on your website?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Anyways, people decided to make art from human hair. We talk about spiritualism, things like seances and crystal gazing. And then this obsession with the natural world, things like fern collecting and curio cabinets, taxidermy. So that's the current exhibit right now. And so we titled it Those Wacky Victorians because those things certainly seem very strange to us now.
Yeah. We do strange things now in 2024.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Future generations are going to totally judge us for sure.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Let me screen share. So who are these fine folks?
So our organization, I'm not sure who those people are specifically, but Moscow was founded by homesteaders in the late 1880s, early 18 to late 1880s, largely because of the agriculture around here. And then another big industry is we are the location for the University of Idaho. So lots of people associated with the school industry. And then our organization in particular is founded, it started as a pioneer association. So really focused on those early pioneer families. And since then, since the 70s, it has really expanded into kind of what it currently is now, where we collect basically all the histories of Latah County and work to address some of the gaps in our collection because we were started as a pioneer association, where it is very white-centric, white Euro-American centric. So right now, a lot of our collecting is focused on getting, people of color, minorities, the queer community, things that were kind of left out when our organization was first starting.
Yeah. And it looks like you also have some sort of gift shop or some shop. You can buy something here.
Yes, we
are these
have
all books?
Lots of books.
Calendar?
Yeah. So some of these we have a book club, and that's free for people to be a part of, and we supply a couple copies of the book each month. So some of those picks, you might say, well, why do they have this in their gift shop? It might be because that was a book club pick, and we are now, reselling that.
Sure.
So books are our biggest gift shop item, but we've got a couple other things too. So.
I'm just scrolling up and down here.
Yeah.
So you have a few signed by the authors. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As I was saying, with a couple different universities so close by, we've got a lot of authors, a lot of historians nearby, lots of people with particular expertise.
Yeah. And it looks like you also are selling vintage teacups. And
people like to give us their stuff. And we don't always have space for it. And if it's not necessarily connected to the county, we can't accession it into our collection. And so with their permission, we say, hey, can we resell this? And they say, sure, go for it. And part of that we've done in the past, Victorian high tea. And that's both then an in-person event, but then during the pandemic, we created kits that you could have tea at home. And that included like your own dishes. So we created these kits with these vintage dishes. and
Oh, that's
tea
smart.
that you could enjoy at home.
Yeah.
So that's also what some of that is from these past events.
Yeah. Smart move on that. Talking about COVID, it looks like you guys made some sort of face masks.
Yes, we did.
Wow.
Gotta capitalize on whatever's going on.
I agree. Was COVID really bad out there in Idaho?
Idaho is a very libertarian place, and so inflicting rules on what people can and cannot do did not go over particularly well.
Yeah.
And so it was just politically, it was very hard because there was a lot of back and forth. I think we were one of the first states to open things back up after the quarantine. And so we were hit hard because people were out and about. People were not,
Following the rules.
not always following the rules. People were saying it's a conspiracy. It's the government telling us what we can and cannot do, and we don't like that. So it was a complicated time.
Yeah. Did you get COVID?
I did kind of later. I was a very, very late COVID person.
Yeah. That's tough. So you were talking about your window sort of replacement. And so is this what it looks like on the outside now with the boards?
Yep, that's what it looks like right now. We've got the plywood up. Our contractor, the closest larger town is in Spokane, Washington, and so that's where our contractor is right now. So he's doing a lot of the work off-site on the windows, and then we'll bring those back to be placed back in those openings once the plywood.
That's smart. So you don't have constant construction crews at the site. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, smart idea.
Yeah.
And let's take a look at this. Let's see who we find. Look at this.
Oh, there's me.
That's great. There's your board of directors.
Yep, our board of directors. So we're a nonprofit, and then I think I mentioned before, we're also, my position and our curator, we're partially funded through the county. So we also have to answer to the county commissioners. So we're kind of an odd arrangement with that.
Just from a sort of a technical management, I see you have volunteer portal in the footer. What happens when you click on that and you log in? What do people see?
It's mostly just the latest volunteer bulletin. What are our needs coming up? What are things that we need help with? And then we also track hours. So that's where our volunteers can log their hours.
Oh, nice.
That we then use, for things like grants and reports to the board of directors or the county commissioners and say, we've had this many volunteer hours this quarter. It's just another statistic that is helpful to demonstrate the work we do in the community.
Are the events that you have on your event page, is that the main way that you get the name out there for the Historic House?
We do a lot of different things. Of course, social media right now is huge. Our Facebook page gets a lot of our local traffic, and then we do things. We're part of a tourism association, so getting the word out through our local tourism associations and our Chamber of Commerce. Things with the newspaper. For our upcoming ice cream social, we've got a radio ad that'll be airing. So we do a couple different things in terms of us as the County Historical Society.
Yeah. And then I just pulled up your Instagram page here. Let me go here.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So this is we were just looking at this, right?
Yeah, so that's the Nez Perce National Historical Park. This is their new exhibit that they just reopened last week.
Wow. Yeah, very cool. Looks impressive.
Yeah. It really is. They did a fantastic job. So we took a staff field trip down last Friday, and then this is the Nez Perce County Historical Museum, and that previous photo they also have a historic house.
This one,
so
okay.
Yeah. So we try to visit some of our neighbors just because, I don't know, I think it's neat to see what other people are doing, to, have that relationship, that network. And then our historic photos are always very popular.
Yeah. And then we have the 62nd annual Jenny's Community Days.
Yeah,
What is
Genesee,
that?
it's one of
Genesee.
the towns in the county. A lot of the towns in the county have their own little summer celebrations, and so that's we try to, shout out some of those events that are coming up for our local folks to visit.
You think we've covered everything?
I think so. Is there anything you think we also need to talk about? I mean, we covered a lot of stuff.
We really did. We went pretty far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
No?
I appreciate that you're interested in Idaho. It's
Sure.
kind of an overlooked place sometimes, but we've got a lot to offer, as you can see.
Yeah, I had no idea about the vast majority of the things that you showed me, so thank you for that.
Yeah, it's a big state with a lot of different museums. I feel like there's something for everybody.